I will tell you my story about how I became a spiritual teacher. If you have seen the last two videos, definitely I have given you an idea about how I started on my journey. I landed in Haridwar. In this episode, you are going to learn a little bit about my Haridwar journey. I met my Gurudev in a very strange fashion over there. The first day that I landed in Haridwar, I couldn't stay in the place where I was living because in that one particular hotel where I immediately checked in, I asked for a cup of tea. They sent me a flask. And I had gone inside the bathroom for a wash. When I came out, my entire tray was filled with more than hundreds of tiny cockroaches. I was aghast. I called the person at the desk and I told him this is the case. The person said, I cannot help you. I had paid 1 day's hotel charges, but I was not able to stay there because he refused to do anything about that tea. And when I opened the flask from bottom, I could see it was filled with cockroaches. It was very ugly. So I shifted to another hotel. Though I had paid, like I said. So when I went to this particular hotel, I dropped my bag over there. It was sometime in the afternoon. I was very hungry. I was wondering what I have to do. There was a small canteen downstairs. I went downstairs and I inquired whether anybody was available, whether there was food available. There was nobody in the canteen. When I was about to go out, a young boy comes and stands in front of me and says, I think you wanted food. Let me bake some for you. And he made one of the most delicious meals I have ever had in my life. I had the meal and then in the afternoon I set for the Ganga. I reached the banks. I crossed over onto the other side of the Har Ki Pauri. I walked for some time and then I put my feet in the water and I sat down over there. It must have been quite some time. I was looking at these flowing waters and it was making me think in a very beautiful manner. I was getting lost in the waters. When I was lost over there, I suddenly found a young person coming and sitting next to me. He must have been anywhere between 14 or 16 years old, a young boy. I did not look up. After a few minutes, I guessed the person sitting next to me must be somebody really great. So I looked up to him and I recognized my Guru. My Gurudev, Dattatreya, was there in a very young boy's avatar. And then our dialogue started. He was telling me certain things and I was giving him my story. I started talking to him about how useless this life is. I was not interested in anything. I was completely dejected and I was dispassionate. I was detached. I didn't like anything in this world. I just wanted to run away. I want to go to the Himalayas. You can imagine the kind of stuff I must have spoken. It was a very interesting conversation. Here I am giving him all the negatives in the world, saying why it is not good for me to do anything except just run away somewhere. And my Gurudev was promptly giving me an understanding that that is not the case, you have to go back. You can imagine somebody who is absolutely reluctant to go back is being told that he has to go back. I kept on opposing him. It went on back and forth for quite some time. I still remember me arguing like nobody's business. So, after some time, he told me the reason why I have to go back. He said, the knowledge which you have, which I told you that I have given you, and which you have, this particular knowledge is a unique spiritual knowledge. It is the knowledge about truth. And you have to go and teach this truth to the world. I laughed and I said, you are telling me to teach this knowledge to people around me? I think that is ridiculous, because how will the ignorant around me know about these things? It is very tough. People are not at all attuned to the way of spiritual. They are lost in their material world, and especially in a big city. How am I supposed to teach them? So it was a very, very difficult answer from my side. But he kept on telling me that I have to go, I have to go, I have to go. Well, you can imagine this is the same vein in which I was arguing and he was telling me what I have to do. Now, imagine me sitting over there with my legs in water. The water is flowing smoothly. He is sitting next to me. He was wearing a peculiar garment, a kind of a wrap. His legs were also in the river. And very sweetly, smilingly, he is telling me these things. Then it so happened that I said, okay, if I have to teach people, what do you think I should teach them? So he told me that I don't think the world would want to learn about the difficult arts or the way of reaching the divine in a difficult manner. Today, the level of knowledge and understanding of the spiritual has gone down tremendously. So if I were to teach somebody the knowledge path, it is not going to help anyone. So he gave me a mandate that I should teach the path of love and devotion. So love and devotion, here it is. It is called the Bhakti Marg. Naturally, in the last few centuries, all the great sages and saints who have come, they have taught us the path of devotion only. It is the Bhakti Marg which is meant for this yuga. There are other paths also like Tantra Yoga and all, but it may be very, very sophisticated and meant for the attuned ones only. It is not meant for everybody. The kind of teaching that is required for Bhakti Marg is very, very minimal. It is all about love. It is all about devotion. I told him that there are people in this world who are teaching very complex yoga asanas and pranayama and techniques of meditation. Do you think I should teach this world? So he said, I don't think you should do that, because people will not understand most of it. Know that today the world is covered by Maya. And because the world is covered by Maya, hardly anybody understands the actual truth in this. So just give them simple knowledge about love and devotion. After nearly 4.5 days, I agreed to his terms and conditions. But then I was also very adamant about the whole issue. I told him that, see, I am not at all keen on getting known to anybody. If someone was to come to me on their own, then I will teach them. Otherwise, I am not interested. So people have to come on their own. I am not going to reach out to anyone. So that was decided. Next, I was not going to indulge myself in yogasanas and pranayamas and all these kind of activities. So it was going to be purely love and devotion. So I was happy with that as well. To be incognito is very important. So then the idea that I already had one disciple prior to this, so he said, go and teach that person. And when the person is going out, then you will get some more. Now, this was not at all a part of the deal. I was not interested in teaching others. But then I agreed, it's okay. So then 2 more came. I said, fine, I will teach them as well. Somewhere in 2014, I was not interested in continuing with this, because already quite a lot of people had gathered and they were very keen on knowing things, and I said, fine, I will teach whatever I can. One more thing which I missed out was, I told him that it was 2007, remember that. There was internet which was coming up, and I had learned to do something on the internet, because remember, this body had already done some kind of a course in computing. So for me it was easy. Later on, when YouTube came into the fore, I started posting videos of my Google Hangouts. Now that too, somebody else was doing it for me, and it went on. So in 2014, I said, enough of it. I don't want to do anything more than this. But then my Gurudev again told me, no, I have to continue. Now it is no longer my choice. It is my Swadharma. You can't deny your Swadharma, you know that. The Swadharma may not be to your liking, but yet you have to do what you are supposed to do. It is the reason of your existence. So yes, the reason of this person being here and talking to you, the Swadharma is to teach. So I am here to teach. Now, some people had already started learning the path of devotion, and they had graduated slightly higher. So at that time, I was given the permission to teach the basic stuff, which is about pranayama, yogasana, meditation, so on and so forth. So I introduced this subject as well. This went on for some time. I was teaching a few disciples. Later on, it so happened that the channel was established. Then the pandemic came. The pandemic was the turning point. Nobody could go outside. Everything was available on the internet. My channel never took off. Please remember, right in the beginning itself, I was not at all keen on doing anything. But during the pandemic, since I was already teaching the way of life to a few of my disciples, I thought it is important to introduce this subject as a basic study material. So I introduced this subject to others. So during the pandemic, I created this particular course, which is called the Way of Life, and I did 2 cohorts with it right now, so that people can understand and learn from it. The way of life as taught by spiritual masters to their disciples, who in turn can become great people in this world. Like say for example, they are the kings and the queens and so on and so forth. So this is the way in which the course was designed and it was executed. So my Gurudev's teachings, my own, we mix them together. The teachings of all the past masters are there in it. So it's a very, very homogeneous kind of a course which talks about literally everything. And it includes a lot of scientific knowledge as well. It is not an ancient course the way you look at it. But definitely I am talking about all the latest things in this world as well. It's not that I am not going to teach the way how things have to be done today. It has to be executed exactly the way the world wants it right now. So I have come to a point today where I want to establish this particular thing in the world and give it forth so that your life can be much better. It teaches you basic stuff, right from getting up in the morning to going through the entire day and not getting upset and angry with things if they don't fall in place. How to win in this world, how to become rich, how to become powerful. Because remember, all these kings and these Raja Maharajas of the past, they were rich and powerful, isn't it? Even Samartha Ramdas, when he was talking about Das Bodh and other scriptures of his, is not meant for somebody who has to take a sannyas or something. It is meant for a person who can live in this world. So today's masters teach everything the way it has to be executed as of now. There are no rituals and rites prescribed by me so far. We do our simple temple visits. I take my disciples to some temples. I show them what the real meaning of every god, goddess, or everybody who is there in that place. So that is the way things have been going on. I will stop over here, but I will give you a heads up that the next video that I will do on this particular channel, it will be based on how I visit and how I train others. It's a very simple techniques that I use. These techniques can be started off even with a kindergarten student, somebody who is way lower in the hierarchy whereas spiritual is concerned, to a person who is very high up in that hierarchy as well. So whichever level you are, that kind of a teaching is given and that kind of a knowledge is imparted. So I will stop my video over here, and before I stop, I would like you to like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.